All right, welcome to the 72, everybody, where we come to make disciples and be disciples on mission together. Um, Today, we will be hearing from Logan Moe, who did 2 years of CLBI here, not one right after the other, but he still did 2 years. And he is a good mentor of mine, and we've always considered each other cousins, though no blood relation, just because our parents were best man and woman at each other's weddings. And he will be getting interviewed today by President of CLBI, Mr. Dean Rostad,
That's
and
right.
his hippo. Okay.
Yes, I have a hippo here. That's right. I dug into CLBI's puppets the other day. So that's what the hippo is anyway.
All right.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So, yes, greetings to everyone who's here tonight and watching this later and all the various places. Shout out to our Minnesotan friends, to Adam Wagner's brother and their group. And it's good. So I had to ask you the question when our opening there was the most ordinary thing you did today. It was fun to hear your answers of all that. Lots of ordinary people here. Now, I want you to imagine that the ordinary thing that you said or that you thought, let's say that you opened up the Bible and the Bible is living and active. So let's say God pulled a fast one on you and you opened it up and you started reading about that ordinary thing that you did. That would be kind of freaky, like very freaky. But and then you read on and you started reading how Jesus was interacting with you today, as Ben Unseth posted the bulletin to the internet, and as Marianne was at Costco shopping with her 4 kids. And yeah, Jesus was at work, even with Lindsay at home looking after her newborn. All right. And so Jesus shows up in your life and starts interacting with you. That'd be a really freaky Bible to read. Now, as we read the actual Bible, we read that exact thing, don't we? But not about us. We read about Jesus showing up. Well, who did he show up? Like, can you name some? Some of the ordinary stories that Jesus showed up in.
All on the road to Damascus.
Yeah, some guys walking on the road, Jesus shows up and they don't even know it's him. Where else does Jesus show up, interact with ordinary people doing ordinary things?
Lauren said, "Woman at the well." Samaritan.
Yep. Where else?
It was ordinary for Paul to be persecuting the Christians on his way to Emmaus or Damascus until Jesus showed up.
Yep. Ordinary day. Well, part of what we do in the 72 is hearing ordinary stories. And as we hear ordinary stories, our stories get to be the living parables. And we get to kind of listen in and hear how Jesus is interacting with someone and getting their attention. And through that, just like when I read the story of the guys in the road to Emmaus, and Jesus starts showing up in my own life, and get to see that. So Logan Moe, yeah, we're going to be, I'm going to kind of interview Logan and hear part of his story of how Jesus has been interacting with him in his life. And also we're on a journey with him. Let me just put it that way. And we are excited about cheering on Logan. And we're excited about how Jesus is leading him and about the adventure so far. And Logan, I know what your story is about, so I'm excited about where it's going to go, even though you're not quite sure what that's going to look like. So Logan Moe, who are you and what's the most ordinary thing you did today?
Yeah, hey guys. It's nice to see a lot of faces that I do know. And everyone I don't. The most ordinary thing I did is clean up this guy's urine. This is Vincent, and he likes to pee in the house. I get to clean it up. Yeah. So I went to CLBI back in 2011, did my first year. And then I took a break from CLBI. I went to Augustana in Camrose, I'm sure a lot of you guys know. And then I kind of felt the calling back to CLBI. So I went back to CLBI in 2015, did second year, and I did a third year, the internship down in Camarillo, California. And then I transferred into Rocky Mountain College that a lot of you guys who are students have the option of doing as well. So that's my relation to CLBI. And I guess I recently became a board member, believe it or not. They let me on there. So yeah. And I guess that's the bulk of my story. I'll let you lead the interview, and if there's anything else you want to know.
You bet, Logan. Okay, so you finished up CLBI, and there was a period in your life you're like, "Okay, Lord, where am I going? What's this going to look like?" And then God got your attention through something, and then that brought you on quite an adventure. Just launch into that, Logan.
Yeah. So when I went back to CLBI the second year, I guess I had grown quite a bit, like as a person. I had changed a lot. When I first went to CLBI, I had just become a Christian. So before that, I was really, partying a lot and living a pretty like average, non-believing lifestyle. So over the next several years, I changed. I learned a lot of things and about spirituality and my faith and who God is, and went back to CLBI and to get poured into and to pour into that. And one thing that CLBI does that is impact trips. And so I got placed in Brazil, Rio de Janeiro, during Carnival. If you guys know anything about that, basically, it's a lot of half-naked people or fully naked people parading around and celebrating, probably something Catholic, but that's how they do it. And anyways, while I was down there, we were hanging out in the favelas, which is the slums, basically their word for slums, and got to know some of the kids. And we ended up taking some of the kids to a surf competition in a region of Rio de Janeiro, the city called the Recreio. And we were just hanging out there, and I had surfed a few times. I was into it. I liked it. But I was, hanging out with those kids, and I saw a surfboard there, and it's like, man, that'd be so cool if somebody like built surfboards for God. Like, whoa, that would be such a neat spiritual thing to do. And then as I stared at the surfboard, I noticed that it had all these stickers on it that said like Jesus and God and had crosses and stuff. And I was like, I guess that happens. And so I just thought, hey, well, maybe I should do it. Maybe I should just start making surfboards for God. And can you guys hear me?
You bet. Uh-oh.
Okay, sorry, everything's frozen.
Yep, we can hear you. Keep going.
Okay, thanks. I moved back home to Alberta, which doesn't have an ocean, and I bought a surfboard building kit, and I started learning how to make surfboards, and that was, 6 years ago, I think, something like that. I got this board building kit, and then I went to the Yukon because it was Easter and my dad lives there. And while up there, I was like, man, I want to build this surfboard, but the kit wasn't in the mail yet. And so I just started like looking around the farm that my dad has up there, and I found these old pieces of foam that he was making toilet seats out of, because he has an outhouse out there, and he heats his house with wood, and it's kind of pretty remote. And he's like, oh yeah, and I'm all done with making toilet seats, so you can have that foam. So I took 2 pieces of insulating foam, which is, they're about 1 inch thick each and 8 feet by 2 feet wide, and glued them together and went on the internet figured out how to make a board, and I cut it up. And that was the first surfboard I ever made. But during that process, it was just kind of this interesting time. Usually, that's just a craft, basically, right? Just doing an odd thing. But it seemed like God had kind of made himself present in my life during that experience, that process of making a surfboard. And it was like he was teaching me. It's like he was implanting these more than normal thoughts in my mind to go along with this process. And it really impacted me personally in that moment. And I was learning a lot about myself through making this surfboard. And I was learning a lot about God through making a surfboard. And when I was done, I was like, man, this could be really cool for other people to do as well. Like, I bet you people could really learn something about who they are and who God is through making a surfboard. And so that started me on this mission of figuring out how to do that. How can I help people to learn about themselves and to learn about God through making a surfboard? And that launched this now 3-ish year process of trying to do the Potter's Boards, it's called. There's been ups and downs. And last year, 2019, I guess, I was able to do a pilot project, the first kind of real project of teaching and enacting the vision with some kids. And so I was on Vancouver Island, and I had been working with Ucluelet First Nation, which is a native group in kind of in central on like the west coast in the center of the island, near Tofino. If you know, Tofino is kind of a famous place. But so we did a camp. I partnered with this other Bible camp that does reconciliation ministry. They try to basically reconcile Native people with Christian people and Christianity because of colonization and some of the negative effects of that on Indigenous peoples. And so I was able to partner with that group, and together we taught these kids how to make boogie boards. And the Bible camp also, gave them the gospel in their own way as well. And so at the end of this camp, these kids had a blast, and they heard about Jesus in a very respectful way. So we tried to, knowing that Christians have done a bad job being Christian, really, in all honesty, we recognize that. And so we taught them in their own language, and we incorporated traditional Indigenous values into the process. So we didn't teach them about love. We taught them Yakmas. And we didn't teach them about respect. We taught them Isak. We didn't teach them that they were special. We taught them that they had Osma. And so we tried to really speak their language in their way, so that they could hear the gospel in the way that is right for them. So that's kind of what I've been trying to continue doing. So after I was out there, I met a girl online, and I got married, and I moved to Washington. And so it's changed the trajectory of that ministry. And so I'm trying to figure it out down here now. And currently we have 2 projects on the go. One up here in Washington State with another Indigenous tribe here, and then one down in Los Angeles with inner city people. So those are in the works, but they're not finalized by any means. And who knows, they could totally fall apart. But that's kind of, I guess, the slightly more than nutshell story. And I'll throw it back to Dean.
Okay. Thank you for the overview. And there's a lot of other things there. How long did you live in your car for in Tofino?
Yeah, only I think a couple of weeks. It wasn't too bad.
Okay. That's always a great missionary story. It's got to start living in your car. Okay. There we go. Building surfboards. This is, the the Logun version of the Bible. Okay. And okay. So God has brought you on this journey of shaping this ministry, the Potter's Boards, and talk about, there was a key verse in there, and how have you seen God live that out? Tell us the story of of someone who has been touched in this process.
Yeah. So Jeremiah 18 verses 1-6 are kind of the heart verses. And these are the verses that I felt God using when I made that first board. And so, yeah, I'll just read them out to you guys. So Jeremiah 18, 1-6, ESV, if you care. The word that came to Jeremiah from the Lord: arise and go down to the potter's house, and there I will let you hear my words. So I went down to the potter's house, and there he was working at his wheel. And the vessel he was making of clay was spoiled in the potter's hands. And he reworked it into another vessel as it seemed good for the potter to do. Then the word of the Lord came to me: O house of Israel, can I not do with you as this potter has done, declares the Lord? Behold, like clay in the potter's hand, so are you in my hand, O house of Israel. I guess, the most vivid explanation of that, for example, of that verse at work in a life is mine, I think, through the potter's boards. And I had a really interesting view of of life in Christianity when I started this mission. I had been really immersed in Christianity kind of for 7 years or so, after being totally not Christian at all. And so I think I had got to a negative place. I had got like kind of some fundamentalist type beliefs and ideas, and without really knowing, I think. And then if there's anybody that's not going to let you be fundamentalist, it's probably surfers. And so, trying to figure out how to talk to people, how to interact with people in a way that's really genuine and really real, has been a way that God has really moved in my heart and revealed to me all the bad things that we let seep into us as Christians, I think. And I don't mean that to condemn anybody here or myself or anything. Like, there's a way we have to look at ourselves honestly, and be really introspective, because stuff gets deep in us. But God's really been working that in me, and really been teaching me how to share His love with people in a better way. And obviously, I am so far from even figuring out the beginning of that. But I've been learning the last few years of how to really respect people, how to really listen to their story, and how to put them above what I think the gospel is. I'll say, not about the gospel, but above my view of it. And because obviously God knows the gospel better, obviously, than anybody else would. And we kind of have no idea what we're talking about sometimes. And so just learning how to be this open book, this open vessel for God to, hold and move and usher into different areas, and really letting go of my agenda, and just figuring out how to be a person that has the gospel and can give it to people without, forcing it down their throats, without making them receive it, and things like that. So that's been probably the biggest way. But then just a quick little story that's powerful for me was when we partnered with that camp out on the island, they gave Bibles to the kids at the end, and every single kid, they were just stoked on it. Right? Like none of these kids were really raised Christian or anything like that. They had little interaction with God, and they were opening these Bibles at all hours. Like they were going to bed, reading the Bible, waking up, reading the Bible. On the boat back home, they're reading the Bible. And so I asked one of the girls, like, "Hey, what's going on? Like, what's changed in you or something like that?" And she's like, "Oh, I just find it interesting," she said. And she's like, "Well, like, why?" And she's like, "No, there's just something different about it." And that really hit me. Like she couldn't put her finger on it, but as she interacted with this scripture, there's just something different. And that was really powerful for me to hear that. God was working this young girl, and she also did the best job at making her boogie board too. So that was good.
Logan, I love the posture that God has brought you into. It's a humble posture. And even from what we've learned at CLBI, when we send out what we call our impact teams for our international cross-cultural ministry trips, typically we all go into it going, hey, I want to do this. I'm going to be able to share this. I'm going to be able to reach someone. And we get pumped up about what we're going to be doing. And then we get there and Jesus turns on us and he says, I want to love you. And sometimes he'll bring us to the end of ourselves, living in our car, perhaps, Logan. But just, come to a hard situation, and then Jesus loves on us and he teaches us through the child. And he brings us down to a place where he can really shape us and form us. And then it's like, now, my child, now you're ready. But we have to come down to that. And that's not a fun journey to go on. So well done, Logan. Love that story. Now you got married, beautiful bride, living in Washington, military connection. So you're going to be there for a couple years. And then you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's some change going on there. And what are your hopes of what these two experiences might look like? And is there an opportunity, perhaps, for people to join you?
Yeah. So right now, there's two kind of camps, I guess, that we're looking at getting going, and both of them arose out of social media. I mean, I've learned how powerful social media is this year. It's incredible. Like, I really underestimated like what was going on online all my life, because it's crazy. But one comment led me to a couple of people reaching out and getting these camps going. So one camp is with Quinault First Nation or Indian Nation, I think they call it down here. And so that is, so far right now, it's looking like we're going to be, as far as I understand, teaching some kids to build surfboards in the area that they build canoes, which is kind of cool. Canoes are super special for these coastal tribes, like really special. And they also love cedar. Cedar is life. It's like a metaphor for life out here for some of the tribal members. And so we're going to try to make boards in some way out of cedar with these kids. And I was chatting with one of the ladies out there today, and basically we're just going to do probably a day camp, 7 days probably. And each day we'll have some fun activities, partnering with a couple shops in that area, local shops, and then get some of the local tribal members to come out and hang out, maybe some of the canoe carvers and painters and artists to come out and join us. And we'll get the fire crew out there, the police, and whoever else we can, assuming it gets approved. And then we'll just build these boards one step at a time for 7 days. And at the end, we'll use them, and we'll have a fire and have a party at the beach and just rock out, and it'll be great. So that's the goal. But there's like 3 or 4 committees we have to get approved by, and it's COVID. And so, I mean, we're going to have to cross our fingers and pray that it works, but that'll happen. Hopefully there's a couple committees coming up. They do it every 2 weeks. So hopefully at one of the next 2 of them, we'll get it approved. And then it takes probably 2 months until we can actually do it potentially. So, it's looking at early summer. And then the other...
Just wait. Stop. You mentioned a story there, social media and how you met someone there. This is how Jesus shows up in things. So what was that story?
Yeah. So in this scenario, it actually worked. I've been giving free surfboard making lessons to just random community members out here as well. And I just made a post on a surf page, Facebook page, and like, hey, if you can pay for the cost of a board, I'll teach you how to make one, and you can come do it at my house. And so like we had like 16 to 20 people be like, hey, I'm on board for this. I'll come. Unfortunately, only 3 of them ended up like following through with it, but it's so cool. So then I made a post again later on Facebook and just said, hey, I'm offering lessons again, but this time only to kids. And so a few people responded, but particularly this one girl named Amber, who has a adventure company out on the coast here. It's like, hey, I'm a member of the Quinault tribe. These kids are super bored. Let's work something out. And so we just started chatting and got this plan going. And she's a believer to some extent. You know, she posts like ocean Hillsong songs on her Instagram and stuff like that. So I don't know what her faith is like, but you know, she's professing in some way. And then also another person in that tribe just yesterday saw a post that we made. It's like, hey, I noticed you use the hashtag Quinault in one of your posts. I want to be involved in this thing that you guys are doing. So, and she's actually a board member on a local native surfing crew. And so, I mean, that's a great connection that through a hashtag happened. And then, yeah, so the other social media connection was on LinkedIn. Somebody posted something about surfing. So I commented, hey, I'd love to meet that guy. And so the girl responds like, okay, I'll set up a date. So, and they're from like South America. And so we connected, we had a Zoom call, and they work for like some organization that the Pope started called Escolas Ocorrentes. And so we're trying to navigate a surfboard making camp down in Los Angeles, because they're trying to launch a branch, I guess, in the US. And so this will be kind of one of their first things. And so, yeah, that one, I haven't been able to have a whole lot of discussion with them yet. But we're looking at working with some inner city kids in Los Angeles at the end of summer or the early fall. And that'll be with kind of a partnership between 3 or 4 organizations, the Potter's Board, Escolas Ocorrentes, Surfers Not Street Children that works in Mozambique, and then some other group that I don't know because they were speaking Spanish the whole time, so I have no idea what they're saying. But we're all going to just combine our missions, and they all have faith. They're all faith-oriented groups, and so they're kind of like, hey, if you're confessing Jesus and you care about the kids, we want to all work together. And so, yeah, that's planned for late summer, but we have no idea if it's going to work yet.
It's good. So Logan, if people want to get involved, how can they stay in touch with you? What can they do?
Yeah, we have a website you can check out, just thepottersboards.com, or you can email me. Maybe Mackenzie can put my email put my email address in his email that he sends out if he's cool with that, and you guys can do that. Or I'll give him my contact information. But yeah, the website, or you can find us on Instagram is also a really good way. There's the Potter's Boards there. THEPOTTERSBOARDS.
You can spell. That's great.
I can. Yeah. Graduate high school. Dan.
Logan, there is loads in that story. And now I don't want anyone to miss what's going on here. So, you know, we talk about the 72 and Luke 10 going out, and really that adventure through social media. You know, Jesus sends you out and you're just knocking on doors, seeing what's going to happen through social media, and some doors open and whoa, a person of peace arrives. And now you remain and you eat the food that's put before you, you stay settled and you keep going. So, and Logan, what we are doing through the 72, we want to support discipling communities wherever they are. And so, and we're in it together. So this is a tribe, essentially. So whatever's going on in your place is going on for Marianne, for Denise, for Ben, for Adam from Chicago to Vancouver, to Shaunavon, Saskatchewan, and Switzerland. So we're in this together, and let's not miss that. Okay. So there's a whole bunch of items there to pray about, and I encourage you in your discipling groups to pray for them. Pray for Logan. And anything else you want to add in for prayer, Logan?
Yeah. So my goal for the end of this year is to have five like missionaries, you could call them, join the team, and 3 board members. So that's my biggest prayer that I want to have happen by the end of 2021. And then just for these camps to go well and to happen according to God's will, if it's right. That's about it.
Good. Well, Luke 10 starts with, the fields are ripe for harvest. Pray that the Lord will send out workers into his harvest field. So thank you, Logan, for sharing. We love you, brother. Take care in everything you're doing. And everyone, make sure you pray for Logan and consider joining what they're doing. Go to thepottersboards.com and you can sign up for their email. That's probably their newsletters, and hear what he's doing. Ground floor stuff getting in there. All right. God bless you, Logan.
Ian, could I mention one little thing that Logan modeled beautifully that didn't come up?
Yeah.
When he was with me in Camarillo, California on his internship for a year, he had a heavy load for the church. And I don't know that surfboards had anything to do with his job assignments, but he just kept going. And he was making surfboards in his spare time just because God had it on his heart. He just kept cultivating this vision because God had put it on. So that's the invisible part of how God makes these things.
That's awesome, Ben. Thank you. Awesome. God bless you all. Have a wonderful night.